Breaking news in the wrestling world: the company that changed sports entertainment forever has also crossed lines that left fans, critics, and even its own superstars saying the same shocking thing. WWE went too far. For decades, WWE has been known as the Empire of Shock. It thrived on controversy, pushing boundaries, and making headlines. But sometimes, the chase for ratings and attention led to moments that went beyond entertainment, moments that were disturbing, offensive, and downright cruel. Let's start where it all began, the Attitude Era. It was wild, it was chaotic, and it was the most unpredictable time in wrestling history. Fans loved it because it felt raw and real. But behind the fireworks, there was darkness. Storylines that mocked real trauma, exploited women, and blurred the line between fiction and reality. Remember when Vince McMahon forced female wrestlers into degrading segments, not for storyline depth, but for shock value? Or when the company staged a fake funeral just to humiliate a rival on live television? This wasn't pushing boundaries, it was destroying them. One of the most infamous moments, the Katie Vick storyline. A tasteless, disturbing attempt at humor involving death and necrophilia. It aired to millions of viewers and instantly became one of the most hated angles in wrestling history. Fans didn't laugh. They were disgusted. And that was the moment many realized, WWE had no filter. Then came the real-life tragedies turned into storylines. The death of Eddie Guerrero used to elevate other wrestlers in storylines that exploited his passing. The real-life mental breakdown of Jeff Hardy turned into on-screen humiliation. WWE blurred the line between fiction and reality so deeply that pain became entertainment. But what's even more shocking is how WWE handled the wrestlers themselves, the people behind the characters. During the ruthless years of chair shots to the head and dangerous stunts, superstars gave everything to entertain. But after the cheers faded, many were left with broken bodies, shattered minds, and addictions that destroyed their lives. Wrestlers like Chris Benoit, Eddie Guerrero, and countless others became symbols of what happens when the show matters more than the person. The same company that glorified their suffering often turned its back when the lights went out. And then there was the treatment of women. WWE marketed them as divas, not athletes. Women were paraded in bikinis, forced into degrading matches like bra and panties contests, or made to kiss male wrestlers for cheap pops. They were treated as decoration, not as performers. For years, female talent fought behind the scenes for respect, while management saw them as ratings boosters and photo ops. It took decades, and a complete revolution, for the women's division to finally be seen as equals. But the scars of that era remain. Let's not forget the exploitation of culture and religion. From mocking Middle Eastern stereotypes to portraying villains based on nationality, WWE made offensive caricatures part of its storytelling. And when criticism came, they brushed it off as just entertainment. But to millions of fans who saw their identity turned into a punchline, it was a slap in the face. Even fans themselves were victims of WWE's arrogance. Remember the times WWE ignored fan reactions, burying wrestlers that the audience loved? Superstars like CM Punk, Bray Wyatt, and even Daniel Bryan were punished or pushed aside simply because they didn't fit the corporate mold. Fans begged for change, but WWE responded with scripted manipulation and gaslighting. They mocked fans on camera, labeled them smarks, and made storylines just to humiliate the people who made them rich. And the firings, oh, the firings. Dozens of wrestlers released during budget cuts, while the company boasted record profits. Talents who dedicated years of their lives were tossed out overnight like disposable tools. Some lost their homes, their health insurance, their mental stability. WWE called it business, the fans called it betrayal. The scandals didn't stop backstage either. Allegations of harassment, abuse, and toxic management circled the company for years. From the plane ride from hell to the hush money scandals involving Vince McMahon, WWE's leadership was no stranger to controversy. Each time something surfaced, the company moved quickly to cover it up, spin the narrative, and keep the machine running. But every cover-up leaves a crack in the foundation. And what about the exploitation of real-life pain? Fans stood with him. But WWE turned that struggle into a storyline, using his illness to build sympathy and sell merchandise. That's the kind of manipulation that blurs compassion with marketing. WWE calls itself family entertainment. But over the years, it's used real families, real pain, and real loss to fuel its business. The Montreal Screwjob, one of the most infamous betrayals in wrestling history, showed the world how ruthless the company could be when money and power were on the line. Bret Hart was betrayed live on TV, not by a rival, but by his boss. It wasn't a storyline. It was real. And it became the foundation of Vince McMahon's on-screen persona, the evil boss that fans love to hate. Because it wasn't entirely fiction. The sad truth is that the same company that created legends also destroyed lives. Behind every championship, there's a story of sacrifice, manipulation, or exploitation. Behind every sports entertainment moment, there's a real person whose limits were pushed for profit. And now, WWE wants to rewrite its history, polish its image, merge with big corporations, and present itself as clean and modern. But you can't erase decades of crossing the line. You can't hide behind branding when your past screams louder than your slogans. WWE gave us unforgettable memories. It gave us emotion, drama, heroes, and villains. But it also gave us some of the darkest moments in entertainment history, moments where humanity was traded for headlines. So as fans cheer for the next big show, one haunting question remains: how far will WWE go next time? Because if history has taught us anything, it's that in the world of sports entertainment, limits don't exist, until it's too late. And maybe that's the real story, not the one we watch in the ring, but the one written behind closed doors. A story of power, greed, and the shocking truth that sometimes wrestling's biggest battles happen outside the ring. The truth is, WWE's legacy is a paradox. It's both a dream factory and a nightmare machine. It's where legends are born, and sometimes, where souls are broken. The same ring that made fans believe in heroes has also seen those heroes fall apart behind the scenes. The same show that entertained millions has also traumatized those who gave their lives to it. You see, WWE is not just a company, it's a mirror reflecting how far people will go for fame, power, and profit. It shows us how easily passion can be twisted, how creativity can turn cruel, and how success can demand sacrifices that no one should ever have to make. Every shocking moment, every scripted humiliation, every too-far storyline wasn't just television, it was a glimpse into a corporate heart that beat for ratings, not for respect. And even today, as WWE tries to rewrite its past with documentaries, charity events, and family-friendly slogans, the shadow of what it once was still looms large. Because you can change the lighting, rebrand the logo, merge with big corporations, and polish the product, but you can't rewrite pain. You can't erase decades of exploitation, manipulation, and the countless voices that were silenced for the sake of a storyline. Ask any wrestler who lived it, the road stories, the exhaustion, the betrayals, the broken promises. The locker rooms filled with legends who gave their everything, only to be forgotten when the spotlight shifted. The fans remember the moments. But the wrestlers remember the scars. And maybe that's what makes WWE's story so fascinating and horrifying at the same time. It's the story of greatness built on chaos, of triumph built on tragedy. It's proof that entertainment has no mercy when profit is the prize. For every WrestleMania moment that made us cheer, there was a real human being behind it, paying a price we could never see. So when we look back, we have to ask ourselves, at what cost did this empire rise? How many lives were burned to keep that spectacle alive? How many people were broken, used, and discarded just to keep the show going? WWE didn't just go too far, it thrived on going too far. It made controversy a business model. And while time has passed, the echoes of those shocking years still haunt the halls of its history. Every fan who grew up on those moments still carries that strange mix of nostalgia and guilt, loving the show, but knowing deep down that something about it was wrong. Because that's the thing about time, it exposes what fame tries to hide. And as we look back now, we see not just the glitz and the gold, but the pain behind the performance. The smiles on stage, the suffering backstage. The legends we adored, and the broken souls we forgot. Maybe that's the final truth. WWE didn't just go too far once. It made a career out of testing how far too far could really go. And every time the world thought it couldn't cross another line, it did. And now, years later, as the world watches a new generation take over, the same question echoes louder than ever: will history repeat itself? Will WWE ever truly learn from its past, or will it continue to gamble with humanity for the sake of spectacle? Because if there's one thing certain about WWE, it's that it never stops. The show always goes on, no matter who gets hurt, no matter what gets lost, and no matter how far they've already gone. And that's the most shocking truth of all: time hasn't changed WWE. It's only revealed just how deep its past runs. So as the final bell rings and the camera fades to black, remember this: the greatest show on earth was never just about wrestling. It was about power, pain, and the price of going too far. And in WWE's case, That price was everything.